Garage. It's time for New Game Mondays. I'm Derek.
I'm Suzzan.
And this week we're going to be talking about a great new game, Parks.
It's really cool where we found the game Parks.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Yeah, we were at Tantrum Con in the beginning of the year.
Yes.
Before everything went topsy-turvy.
Before the madness.
And we were playtesting their Kickstarter, Keystone Games Kickstarter game, and we thought it was a lot of fun. And they said, "Do you know of our game Parks?" And we said, "No." And they're like, "Well, come over here." And they didn't have any.
We'd heard a lot of people had been talking about Parks in the preceding months, and we didn't have Parks. And then at the con, people were talking about Parks, and yeah, so they went out and they found a copy in their
he said he went home to his garage and got it for us. And we're like, yeah, awesome.
Which was really cool. And so we came back later, and they had the copy, and we sat down and played it, and it was super fun.
And we got a little obsessed. We played it a lot.
Yeah. We played it a lot, and then since the pandemic, we've played it a lot. Like capital A.
So can we say that you are a former gap year backpacker?
I'm a gap year backpacker.
And you go on, normally if it isn't the Weirds, you go on tour a few months out of the year, and you always bring your little national park passport.
Have it with me.
I'll float in the photo.
Okay.
And on your downtime, what do?
I go, if we're near a national park or a national monument or a state park, I go. But I love going to the national parks and getting a stamp in my little passport book that I went to probably 30 or so of the national parks when I was younger, but I didn't think that passport books were cool back then. So now I go and I get a little stamp in my passport book, and
it's super cool.
It makes my
now.
day. And I can take it home and show people, and it's fun. But
and I'm a girl who grew up in LA who spent her time at the beaches of Santa Monica and the mountains of Mammoth. And now that we are in the Weirds, we can't travel.
Can't go anywhere.
So we've been traveling.
Along comes Parks into our world, which is perfect. It's one of the reasons I enjoy the game. We'll just get that out of the way, is because it makes me think about places that I've been or places that I want to go or I want to go back to. And it's awesome. It's a real easy little getaway game in a short period of time.
Well, it's easy to learn, and the gameplay is simple, but there's more depth than that. There's a lot of strategy and sabotage that can happen.
It is not a simple game. It's not by any means. There's layers to it. The first few times you play it, you can play it one way, and then as you learn more about the game, you can really get in depth with the strategy and some. It's fun, and then sabotage your partners when you're hiking.
All right, so let's talk about the process of the game.
Okay, so the game starts out. It takes place over the 4 seasons of a year, and the 4 seasons, and each round, each season gets a little bit longer as you go because the modular board expands. But each round.
But it's by you. Well, at least we do. We mix them up and we draw, so it changes each game.
Yeah, so it's always different. But so your goal is you're hiking and you're starting at the trailhead and you're going to the end of a trail each season.
Trail's End.
So yay, Trail's End. And things that you find along the way, sites that you see. You try and collect visits to parks. You try and collect equipment that helps you get more points, cards. There's a lot of little cards that you help you along the way that give you more resources to get to your end goal, which is to have the most points at the end of the 4 seasons, having visited parks and gotten gear and taken. They have a snapshots. I don't know if you can see this. If you take
Beautiful.
snapshots when you're visiting these parks in game, you get points. They're worth points. And so when all is said and done, after 4 seasons of hiking, and you're all hiking the same trails, so you have to get to places before your hiking partners to get certain things, or you'll miss out. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most points is the winner.
All right, so Down and Dirty is that the trail grows each year.
Yes.
And when you're the first one in at Trail's End the year before, you get to be the first one out. Each national park site, you accrue a token, whatever resource it is, or an action, utility action, and you can either go slow, like some people do, and try to collect as much as you can, or you can go fast and skip to the end because you want to mess with the other player, and the other player gets really mad when you
skip to the end.
But the point is, there's gears you can buy, which helps you, makes things cheaper, to resources to
changes the resources that you need to use in the next round.
There's canteens,
and they give you other ways to collect resources.
And canteens are used by using fresh water. It means you have to acquire the water on that turn. You fill your canteen and you utilize the ability. And you're taking turn for turn, and you cannot be in the same spot at the same time unless
you have a campfire. Every player has a campfire they can use once per season, which they can use their campfire to double up on a space with another player.
Until you get to the Trail's End, then your other player can use it again. So there's an opportunity.
It is reusable, but somebody has to get to Trail's End to replenish it. And that's a very interesting item, because how you use it tactically changes how the gameplay goes, depending on if somebody else is using them a lot or if you are. It does change things, and it's really neat. But what you're doing is you're collecting national park visits. You're going to national parks, and there's a card for different parks, or multiple cards for the same park, but they're utilizing artwork because the game has a partnership with a company called 59 Parks.
Is that right?
Yes, 59 Parks.
The art is stunning.
Amazing. 59parks.net.
All right, can I just throw in everything?
Yeah.
In the box is stunning, to the game trays that are made by Game Trays, to everything is wooden tokens, all the resources, to the canteen and gear and personal year goals. They're all so beautifully done.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, out of the box included, and all the components inside, this is one of the best artistically designed, functionally designed board games that we've encountered.
And look at the size of the box.
It's tiny. Look at these. These are giant boxes.
A ton of fun.
This game is
what is it, 8x8, 10x10?
Well designed. It's artistic, and yeah, every piece, every bit of it is so enticing, is so usable, and so visually stunning that it blows my pretty little mind. And like I said, we have a lot of games. This is right up there at the top of the pile with some incredible games.
Well, let's talk about what mechanics. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Mechanics that work for us.
Mechanics that work for us. I really like that. It's the board is not random chance, but it is chance because it gets rearranged every round.
I like that. The modular changes, I like that a lot.
You're not looking at the same thing every round and going down the same path every round. It's just like going to a national park. Every path is completely different. And the board changes.
You can't use the same strategy. You have to change each time.
Yes. Every space on the board is modular, so they all move around and you put them back down again, and they're different. And
You know what
So
I've
you don't
noticed?
know what to you don't know what to expect.
You know what I've noticed?
What?
We
We.
tend to always go to the canteens early. We try to collect the canteens in the first 2 seasons because they give you, you can utilize them to make resources cheaper or exchange them. And we seem to always do that.
Because if you, depending on what canteen you get, you can get a canteen that gives you can trade in one resource to get a wild card resource, which means it's you have several different kinds of resources. So one canteen, you use one water, you trade in another resource to make a wild card resource, which is in the shape of a wooden animal, which is really cool.
Adorbs.
And then it's good for any of the other 4 resources.
Or the 2 for 2.
You trade any 2 resources for any other 2 resources, but not a wild card. Which is, so if you need a whole bunch of mountain resources and all you got is suns, well, there's a no-brainer. You can turn those into mountains. Canteens, obviously, we use them a lot. We feel they're critical. Yes. The gear is another thing that I do enjoy.
It's essential.
It changes gameplay.
Yeah.
You can get different cards that cost different amounts of resources.
You know, when I started
that
playing,
change things.
I didn't play the gears. Then I saw that you were all in, and you're always ahead of me on that. I'm behind the 8 ball. And when I started getting them, when you get there, we get to the Trails End first, you get a discount on the gears.
Gear, yes.
So that's another reason to skip to the end.
When you're playing with a bigger group of people, then we play a lot, just the 2 of us, and that's mostly what we talk about. But we do play with 3 and 4 other players with this game and other games. When we're playing with 4 players, gear becomes even more critical because of the dynamics of resource allocation and spending, trying to get what you want to get for goals.
So that's the good, bad, and the ugly. The good is all the layers between the canteens, your personal year-end goals, which we'll talk about in a second, and the what did we just talk about? The gears. Because it's a lot to think about. That's the bad. There's many things you have to keep track of. And I can't tell you how many times when it's gone past my turn and I'm like, I forgot to use my gears.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Drives me crazy.
I get upset when I forget to utilize a couple canteens because they would have given me multiple other resources. But that's my own fault because I've got too much to think about. But it's not too much to think about.
No, it makes the game good.
There's a lot involved, and so depending on how complicated you make your personal strategy, you have a lot of stuff to keep track of. And then, like we said, you can get halfway through a year of a season of hiking and realize that you don't have anything else you need from that season. You could skip to the end and kibosh the plans of your other hikers in the game.
It's so funny he says that because I always do it, and he gets so mad at me.
Well, I finally did it this last game, and you didn't like it either.
Sure. All right, so the personal year-end goals that we start with at the beginning of the game.
Everybody draws 2 cards at the beginning, and you pick one to keep as a year-end goal. And
I personally use that as my touchstone for my strategy for my whole game.
It drives the boat.
Because those extra 3 to 5 points are game changers at the end of the game. It is always so close
when we've got a game
that makes a full difference.
When we've got a game of 3 or 4 people, it comes down to who took the time to take a couple extra snapshots in a national park, and they get points for that.
We didn't talk about that.
We did a little bit, and then a couple of the year-end goals. If somebody got year-end goals, there's 2 levels. You get 2 or 3 points or 5 points, and somebody else didn't. That could be the winner of the game or the loser.
And the little photos that you take at the end of the year, and that's the end game is when you reach the last season Trails End, and you do the photo op, and then you count all your points of the parks you visited, your photos that you've taken, and your if you had the marker for the first hiker for the
if you're the
season,
first hiker out,
and the points for your personal year-end goals.
Oh yeah, it's can be very competitive. It can also be very
straightforward.
It can be very cooperative. Also, it's not cutthroat. Doesn't have to be. It can be. But what is amazing
I hear you, but I
is,
don't hear you.
I don't know what you're talking about. What is amazing to me is you're playing to collect these parks, and the artwork on the parks cards is phenomenal. And so you really get a sense at each juncture. You get a real sense of each of the national parks. The national parks that I've been to, I look at the card and I go, yeah, they nailed it. And the ones I haven't been to, I go, yeah, I got to go there.
That's
no doubt about it.
We've been married for
a while.
Decades. And we're playing this game, and I'm like, I love this card. He's like, oh, I've been there. I'm like, I want to hear this story. He's like, I'll tell you after the game. Because I'm an LA girl, I didn't travel to all those beautiful places you've been. Yeah. And sorry, hit the mic. Oops.
Sound adjustment later. It does open up for story time, which is nice. Personally, is nice, and it enhances the game because whoever we play with, also, most everybody, unless they're from
LA,
has a good, even the ones from LA, have a good story, whether it turns out being about one of the actual parks or someone they knew that went to a park. It had the Mammoth
Mountain in
here. Yep. There's so much to. It's a good family game. It's a good group game. It's tons of fun.
And what we've been doing since we are in pandemic isolation is traveling to places that we want to go to that we can't. And we've been lately to Tuscany, to Mars. A lot of dungeons.
A lot of dungeons and some dragons involved.
And we went to parks.
And we've been to parks. And I have enjoyed my revisits to all these parks and my new visits.
And we are ready for the expansions.
Yes, and there's an expansion coming out, which
we will put it in here. The Kickstarter was fully funded, but you can go there and you can still back it.
You can still back it and order a copy.
And you can order this. It's out of print right now. But if you go to Kickstarter, you can get this and the expansion and the new version, which is a kind of a memory game with the cards.
Oh, the other game, the one that we play tested. Yeah, that was so cool. Yeah, that was
interesting. And it's still freaking beautiful.
Uses the same artwork from 59 Parks. And again, that is 59parks.net. You can go look on there and see all the incredible artwork that they have incorporated into this game. They've incorporated 45 national parks worth of art into this game, and the expansion is going to incorporate more, is my understanding. And then you can see 59 Parks, they partner with, you can get posters, you can get postcards, you can
get field notebooks.
Notebooks. I have some notebooks which have the artwork on them, which are really neat as well. That and Keymaster Games has nailed it with this game.
And they are giving a percentage of the sales
back to the national parks.
Yes.
Which is incredible because that's national parks operate. They have budgets, but they also operate on donations.
Now we need to help them out.
On donations from the public. And whenever I go to a national park and I'm spending money on something, I consider it I know it's a donation, so if it's more expensive than it is in the real world, I'm fine with it because I'm donating to a national park.
Yes.
So the reasonable price of this game makes it all the more worthwhile because you're also then donating.
All right, so we played this a dozen times. Still fun?
Still fun.
Still stunning?
Still stunning. Yes.
And
visually.
It's about 50-50 on the wins too.
I think it's pretty close, and with the other people that we regularly play with, it evens out. It's not, nobody has a supreme advantage.
So you want to play again?
I do, and you're gonna have to put up with me reading to you the other little information on the cards and the extra stories about what the stuff is and that arch and where it is and all that neat stuff.
I would love that. All right, cut this. We need to play.
We're going to play. I'm going to set it up right now.
All right, everybody. We love Nerdz Garage loves parks.
Thumbs up
See
to
you
parks.
next time.
See you next time.